So remakes. Some are good and some are f***ing terrible. In the case of Roadhouse 2024, it falls somewhere in the middle. It's a film I was excited to watch because the original is a lot of fun and Jake Gyllenhaal is a favorite actor of many movie addicts. Throw Conor McGregor in there as an antagonist and you have yourself a recipe for something truly entertaining. Luckily, there is some enjoyment to be had in this remake, but in comparison to its potential, I think we have a slight miss on our hands. The first question we should ask though is, was this a necessary remake? Before I dive in though, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. As far as I know, a lot of people consider the original movie a guilty pleasure at best. I do think it's deserving of a better title though, and I'm probably in the cult minority fan base. However, if you ask a lot of critics, I'm positive most of them would say the 1989 Roadhouse is so bad it's good. So then, who exactly was this remake for? If the original isn't received well, why make another? That's something I'll never understand. Maybe Jake Gyllenhaal was searching for a bonkers film to star in for once, considering he typically chooses rather grounded, serious roles. Also, Hollywood has most definitely been waiting to feature McGregor somewhere, and so they remembered the bizarre 1989 Roadhouse and thought, wow, this would be a perfect premise to throw McGregor into on screen. Now, the thing is, does this remake utilize the original film's concept to the fullest? If you ask me, I don't think so. Both movies start out as bar bouncer flicks and venture down an explosive action route by the second half. But I feel like we get a lot more of the fun stuff in the original. It's really enjoyable watching Patrick Swayze hire and fire parts of the crew, as well as seeing the Roadhouse grow from a hole in the wall to an upper low-class bar, plus all the fun action stuff later. Meanwhile, the 2024 version skips over most of the Roadhouse fixer-upper elements, and for whatever reason spends a lot of time trying to establish the main villain, who, by the way, is not Conor McGregor. I think if they develop Gyllenhaal's crew more in the remake and the idea that he's there to build up this place, you'd have something better, but that's almost forgotten here. Honestly, when you see this bar, it doesn't look like a shithole compared to the first movie. It's actually got a nice interior. I don't totally buy it as a place that has tough clientele. Regardless, the movie is kind of boring when you eliminate the Roadhouse pieces of the plot. I did not care about the villain, I did not care about the romance, I just wanted to see Gyllenhaal's leadership on screen. Swayze sold it like he actually cared about the Dalton role, but Gyllenhaal's version of the character acts laid back as if he doesn't take anything seriously. He defends the bar from some bad guys, but never comes across like he's the true owner of this place. Just another ordinary bouncer who can kick some ass. When it comes to the acting, it shows too. I'm not surprised Gyllenhaal said this movie was always intended for streaming, because it doesn't seem like he cares about delivering a believable performance. Like I said, usually Jake is phenomenal, but I think this is one of his weakest performances to date. Maybe he was lackadaisical because it's a Roadhouse remake, and we all know most people don't take the original seriously. McGregor, on the other hand, steals the show. Once he's introduced, you can tell he's having a blast. You could argue McGregor isn't even acting, as his real-life persona is pretty close to what we see on screen. It's a shame they had to include another big baddie above him because McGregor is far more entertaining to watch. The fact they don't bring him into the fold until the second half is mind-boggling. Speaking of the main villain, none of what he's doing makes any sense. He's just one giant cartoon baddie. Not that the original movie's villain wasn't, but his beef with Swayze felt legit and was understood by the audience. In the remake, our villain's plot is to take out the Roadhouse so he can build a resort, and for whatever reason he needs Gyllenhaal's Dalton to die? But we live in a capitalist society in America. Why doesn't he just offer the owner some cash? I'm sure the owner has some kind of price, but they ignore logic and instead they need Dalton dead because he's in their way of taking over the Roadhouse. McGregor's character also doesn't have much motivation either, which I found very strange. The CGI is questionable as well. I'll admit some of the camera work is pretty cool, especially during the fight sequences, but at times they throw in noticeable CGI for God knows what reason. I'm pretty sure they didn't have much CGI in the first film at all, so again, why do you need to add in useless effects when there's no need? More often than not, when the CGI is showing, it takes you out of the movie. Now, what's the biggest positive in the Roadhouse remake, you ask? Well, this film shines the most when things are getting out of hand. The bar fights, over-the-top dialogue, and brutal brutal action sequences make this movie enjoyable enough. As stated, McGregor is awesome in his role. Whenever him and Gyllenhaal are on the verge of killing each other, the film is loads of fun, and I'm glad this wasn't a carbon copy of the first flick either. Obviously, I wish they did some things the same, but when a remake has no ideas of its own, there's simply no reason to watch the movie. So Roadhouse 2024 gets a thumbs up in that department. For what this movie is, it's fine. Probably not something I'd watch again, unlike the '89 film. If anything, I'll likely go on YouTube in a year and just watch the scenes featuring McGregor. Again, I wish they utilized the Roadhouse gimmick more. By the end of the movie, you forget Gyllenhaal's Dalton was even hired to help keep the place in shape. Some will be satisfied, others won't. I'm still upset this movie wasn't in theaters. Even if I find it quite mediocre, it's an action movie that deserves to be watched on the big screen. So Amazon gets an L from me in that regard. But what do you guys think of the new Roadhouse? Was this movie a necessary remake? And what are your thoughts on the original? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you as always for watching this video, and I will see you all next time.